702.5 in Las Vegas, it's time to come together. Rainbow Dreams Educational Foundation presents the 24th annual Las Vegas Juneteenth Festival, going down Saturday, June 21st from 4 to 9 p.m. at the Expo at World Market Center, and it's free to the public. Catch R&B icon Tweed live on stage, plus performances by Kiss Kiss and the Squad, Darnell Alexander, Unk and the Nephews, and Las Vegas's pop princess Ray Millie. Hosted by DJ Ambeezy with Not a Boy DJ and DJ Kelly J on the ones and twos. Stop by and visit the Hot 702.5 FM live remote tent and check in with our on-air personalities. Shop the vendor marketplace, hit up the food trucks, and enjoy surprise guests throughout the night. Presented in partnership with Google, MGM Resorts International, Live You Equals You in the city of Las Vegas. Come together this Juneteenth weekend to celebrate freedom with Tweet and Rainbow Dreams. Get your e-ticket now and be entered to win one of our fabulous prizes. Visit June19LV.com. That's June19LV.com.
Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7 on hot7025fm.com.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Cheryl Underwood, and you're tuned into the hottest news station on the planet, Hot 702.5.
Hi. Hey.
What's up? All your favorite artists.
Check it out. Say my name.
DJ Khaled.
This is Mila J.
Bruno Mars.
On hot7025fm.com.
Tune in now on hot7025fm.com.
Yeah. Jones, hey, Greg Deville was at it, man, hey. If you want the real, holla at Greg Deville, he'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. If you want the real, listen to Greg Deville, he'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. I'm talking real estate, building wealth, making money for your family and yourself. Now tune in, we here to help. Now tune in, we here to help. You wanna be a broker, you wanna be broke. You wanna be the joker, you wanna be the joker. You gotta bring more to the table than your hope, dreams, and wishing. I can feed you fish or I can take you out fishing. I can show you the vision, addition and division, mathematic equation. Make the money flip like an acrobatic, amazing. Greg Deville help you build the foundation. I'm saying, if you want the real, holla at Greg Deville, he'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. If you want the real, listen to Greg Deville, he'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. I'm talking real estate, building wealth, making money for your family and yourself. Now tune in, we here to help. Now tune in, we here to help.
All right, Las Vegas, here we go. It's 12 o'clock on a Wednesday on the dot. Not in the drop top today, a little too hot. Let's have some fun. I'm so excited to be back live on the radio. Shout out to Tara Gordon. She stood in for me last week, the travel boss. And I hope you got some great information from that. Tara is, she's great at helping me when I need to go. I'm going out of town. I got some things I have to do. She can set it up and just tell you, here's what you need to do. Here's your itinerary. And so, again, whether you're traveling or you want a family reunion, whatever you're looking to do, I want you all to know travel boss Tara Gordon is very good at getting what you need when it comes to travel, whether you want a cruise, you know, there's the festival coming up here in New Orleans. So there's a lot available. She can help you gather your trip. All exclusive. All right. So, again, the travel boss. She's right there on IG. Tara Gordon, the travel boss. So, hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Greg Deville. I want to welcome you to the Wealth and Real Estate Talk Show every Wednesday at 12 o'clock. Right here, Hot 702.5 FM. We are excited to be back in the studio. We always want to talk things real estate and wealth. Now, you know, it's not just real estate. It's wealthy things. It's things that, you know, help you gather your mindset, right? Because it's all about a mindset. Today, I've linked up with a couple great individuals in the community, and one of which many of you may or may not know, his first term as Assemblyman, and I want him to tell his story. So let me introduce to you Assemblyman Jackson. He's live in Philly right now with us. Hello, Javon, Assemblyman. How are you, man?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm out here in Philadelphia right now. It's not too hot. You could definitely drop the top. Doing some criminal justice reform work and advocacy. You know, session ended, I believe, last week, about 7 days, and just getting right back to the work.
Right. So here's what I'm going to ask of you. So those that may not be familiar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became or desired to become the Assemblyman here in the state of Nevada, and what your district are you with?
Yes, sir. My name is Deville Jackson. I'm born and raised in Las Vegas. You know, my family, we all come from the Northtown West Side, and you know, I represent Assembly District 6, and I want to say that, you know, my lived experiences is what got me into office and got me motivated to run for office. Often when we think of someone who runs for office, we think of someone that has this perfect story. You know, someone that went to college, got their bachelor's, got their master's, became a lawyer or something. And you know, my story is a little different. At the age of 19, I started my first business. I was a successful entrepreneur, and I want to say being young and naive and a little bit of arrogant. And you kind of you still learning life at that age, but I thought I had it all figured out at the age of, you know, 21, 22, and I started experimenting with, you know, certain drugs, and all it took was one time, and I literally lost my mind. And so I went from the successful entrepreneur to someone that was battling with mental health, battling with their own self. There's a point in time that I couldn't even speak. You would talk to me, and I wasn't able to speak back. And you know, and my mental health problems deemed me unstable, and you know, I got involved in and out of the jail, and you know, I ended up incarcerated for a conspiracy of a violent crime, and and it's unfortunate to say, the criminal justice system saved me. You know, going to jail, going to prison, it saved me from my own self. And I'm not saying that this is a tool that we should use to save ourselves. I just wish there were more things that, you know, free mental health services, free housing for those who are experiencing a mental health crisis. You know, I wish those tools existed. But, you know, I went to prison for about 2 years. I served as a wildlife firefighter while I was incarcerated, and I was able to regain my mental health. You know, I know it's a scripture in the Bible that, you know, I don't look like what I've been through. So, you know, I was released in 2018. I got involved with the Mass Liberation Project with Leslie Turner and Jagada Chambers. And from there, that's where my political career and my aspirations began to grow.
Oh, wow. Wow. You know, man, that's an encouraging, wonderful story. And it brings hope to those who've had challenges in their youth, right? As a young man, even when you're a young adult man, right? 21, I believe you said you got into trouble. And I much have that same similar, you know, 19 for me as well. We went through that. But it doesn't mean we can't be the most successful person in as one of the most successful, right? So I commend not letting where you were hold you, but you where you are today by the grace of God. So, man, thank you for sharing that. Now, I understand as you were in Carson City that there were some bills. Talk to me a little bit about what your hopes, what did pass, what you were expecting, and what some of maybe the other assemblymen were looking to pass that kind of fits in your scope of, you know, what you're expecting to do as well.
So I ran my campaign off of criminal justice reform, mental health, and affordable housing. I really felt that housing was the #1 issue in my district and in the state. So I did run a housing bill, and it made it through. It made it out the first house. It made it out of Ways and Means, which is a money committee, and it got to the second house, and it just didn't have enough time to get passed through. So the housing bill was it's these things called ADUs, accessory dwelling units. Dwelling units. Some may know them as tiny homes, but an ADU is different. An ADU is a part of a primary residence. So the bill was, if you put your ADU on Section 8, that you will be tax exempt while you're renting that ADU on Section 8. And I thought it was a great bill because, one, it helps property owners, and then two, it helps the most vulnerable populations find housing and security. And I thought, and three, it addresses the housing insecurity, and it kind of puts a solution into the people's hands instead of waiting for developing housing, affordable housing, and things like that. Unfortunately, that bill did not make it. I did have a few bills around criminal justice reform, and I know AB 321. Like I said, my story, I served as a wildlife firefighter while incarcerated. So that job isn't always reserved for you once you're released. So to me, it was disheartening to know that, I served my state. I almost, sacrificed my life fighting fires. And that same job, I wasn't promised to, when I got out, of incarceration. So I made a law that guarantees a pathway to employment for those who served as a wildlife firefighter while incarcerated in Nevada, that they could, attain this same job once they're released. And it also created a housing program for current people incarcerated, where if they don't have somewhere to probation or parole, that they could enter this workforce program and they could become wildlife firefighters. That passed, and I thought that was an amazing bill. And often we look at criminal justice reform, and a lot of folks, they talk about the voting part, but I think when you are impacted yourself and you're out of prison, you just want to work. You just want to provide for your family. You just want to be able to pay the bills. So I thought that was a great concept of workforce development. And
I agree. And let me just, not to interrupt, but I agree, because I too, back in Southern California, was at Wayside Honor Ranch. So I fought in the hills of Hollywood in the fire suppression. Right. So I, too, did that as I was incarcerated, waiting on the chain gang, they call it, going to prison. So I agree. That would be wonderful, because you got experience on fighting fires. Right. You got the experience on how to draw the line. Right. So if I can get out and do that, now, granted, the fires are hot. And then the uniform is hot, and so I've been in about 4 during my time of incarceration, right? So I think that's a wonderful bill, being that you have the experience. How is it that I can get employment? Because I've learned how to break down chainsaws. I've learned how to linseed oil the hammers, the handles of the tools. I've learned so many things, man. Incarcerated, how can I? Much like Jeff, Brother Jeff with the men's, the cook, Chef Jeff, incarceration, learn how to cook. Guess what? With that, he's made a wonderful schooling, teaching how to become, it took from a disadvantaged situation, but it became an advantage for many. And so let me say, well, what you're doing is an advantage for me. I know and I told my mother incarceration, she taught me one thing. When she found out I was going to 2 years, she said, good. She said, maybe that's what you need to get off the street and get out of your addiction and get out of your behavior, right? And so we've learned something. So you and I didn't know that. We have that commonality there, with have been through. And so give me the other bill that you were excited to have gotten passed.
So there's 2 other bills they're waiting for to be signed by the governor. So my background is in mental health services. I have provided mental health services for about a decade. And so I did have one bill around mental health. And it's not the traditional, when you think of a mental health bill, know, the future, right? We talk about chat GPT and AI and all these automatic things. So I had a bill that stop AI from becoming a licensed therapist, a licensed psychiatrist, a licensed school social worker, a licensed counselor. And I know this kind of seems, off the wall, but in other places they're doing the exact opposite. They're trying to have AI be recognized as a mental health services, a billable services, something, by where Medicaid could recognize. And I really felt the need that, AI is a great tool, but it should never replace a therapist. It should never replace a human. And these humans are licensed for a reason. They go through thousands of hours of training. And I know we have Ashley Dotson that should be getting on the air soon, that, that they go through this training because, human are flawed. And just like AI, it has flaws too. There were stories about, children asking for advice, and AI basically went delusional itself and told these children to kill themselves. So that law is awaiting to get signed by the governor. And I think it's a common sense legislator. Like, AI is a great tool, but it shouldn't replace therapists. And then one of my other bills that I'm waiting to get, signed by the governor, which I'm not really sure if it will be signed, is it's a bill around court attire. Some individuals, especially eviction court, some individuals get denied entry to court based off their attire. Say if you're low income, or even say if you're homeless, you may not have the best attire going into court. And often, the bailiff may deny you entry to court. I know this has happened to me before, not as a defendant, but as a participant of court, where I was denied entry because I had shorts on. I didn't have pants. And you think about someone, especially in Las Vegas during the summer, 120 degrees outside, you catching the cat bus. I don't even think they call it cat bus anymore, but you catch the bus for 2 hours. And, it's hot. You don't want to be in those slacks and a coat. So this bill is basically to protect those individuals that the court cannot penalize you or consider you a no-show if you don't have the right professional attire, business attire on. And I really felt like this will make sure that everyone has their day in court, and make sure that no one's being evicted just because they weren't able to enter the court because they don't have the right clothes.
Or at least if it could be noted that that person did show up, because it becomes a bench warrant once the judge, it comes across and you're not there. Now it serves as a bench warrant. So the sense that it makes is, or it's, let's say you're not sure if the governor will. Now let's hypothetically say he does, but if for whatever reason it doesn't, can we go in and say, can it be noted that that person was here? They just were not, the attire was not acceptable. But make note, have a sign in, right? That person did. But then the other part is people may sign in and dip. So that, I don't know, we gotta fine tune that, right?
So the bill is very specific. It still gives the court discretion to deny someone into court, but if you deny this person, you cannot penalize them just because they weren't able to enter the court because they're tired. So hey, you don't want this person in because they got flip flops on. That's fine. But don't mark them off as a no show and have them evicted. So it gives the people another chance to come in the courtroom in the right attire. Because
no show is a guilty plea.
Basically,
just off the top, it's a guilty plea. I mean, because if you're there contesting an eviction, you don't show. I win because I've done a ton of evictions. You don't show, I win. Nevertheless, anyway, Assemblyman, I am appreciative of your time. I know you're in Philly right now. You're at work. You're not just out there chilling in the weather and enjoying the season. You're working, and so you're welcome to stay on board. I'm going to bring up Ashley. Maybe you should stay. Do you have a little more time to spare with us? Absolutely.
Absolutely. And Ashley was up there in Carson City with me too. So
I did.
I love to.
I love her. The gentle woman from Nevada. Everybody, let me welcome on the show Miss Ashley Dotson. Hi, Ashley. Good afternoon to you.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Yes.
The gentlewoman is crazy.
Yeah, it is. But I saw your spirit. Yeah, the gentle lady from Texas, the gentle lady from Nevada. That might mean something down the road. Ashley, we just don't know, right? We just don't know
I'll
because
receive that. I'll
yeah,
receive
I see your fight. I see you're standing firm on what you believe, and I've seen your opinions, and they make sense. You're not just trying to get notarized to be seen, but I've seen you out there, and I've noticed your posts. In fact, today I noticed something you post, and I liked it. June 11, 2025. You said you posted this. You said sometimes the road curves because your soul is being led somewhere deeper, truer, and more aligned. What feels like a delay might actually be divine timing, and what appears to be a detour could be the most direct path to your purpose. Trust the pause. I like that. Trust the pause. Trust the redirection. It's not a punishment. It's a preparation for something greater than you imagine. Now, you post that today, and as I was looking at your post, you post something else too. Breaking news about something Trump said in 2020 about even in California, right? Trump said it was illegal for a president to move in the National Guard without approval from the governor. He said this in 2020. Mm-hmm. But yesterday or day before, he moved in the National Guard without the approval of the governor.
Absolutely.
And so you posted this, and so after seeing that, I said, you know what? I'm bringing on the Assemblyman and the gentle woman from Nevada. I think I even told you, girl, I see you as a Crockett. Jasmine Crockett is an Ashley Dobson. Yeah, she's a little fighter. So Ashley, introduce yourself to some who may not know you, may not be familiar with you, and what it is you do and what you stand for.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Mr. Deville, for having me here.
Absolutely.
My name is Ashley Dotson. Many know me as Coach Ashley D. I am not a Las Vegas native. I'm actually here by way of California, but I did grow up here. We moved here after the riots. I went through the Clark County School District system, which is obviously very questionable, but I did go to some of the best schools. I grew up in Spring Valley. We came here from LA, and I grew up in some very interesting areas prior to getting. I had a culture shock when I got here, right? I was around most Black and brown folks, came to Spring Valley, and that's when I got introduced to racism. And those were the things that I did not have back home. So very quickly, I became a gentle fighter.
Okay.
And, you know, those things were just always a part of me. I started to experience going to therapy in my young age. So when I got to my adulthood, or I would say after high school, I transitioned from being in media to wanting to see what it was like to do mental health, which also sparked a lot of my social work capabilities. So I grew up in the church. My mother, we were raised AME. Right now, non-denominational, but you know how that goes. And, you know, I just turned into this big ball of everything. So that's how I became a social worker, capital SOUL on the soul. And I just been a little fighter ever since.
So just for the record, just FYI right here, the gentle woman from Dallas is not from Dallas. She migrated to Dallas. So much like your story. Now, again, because you talked about mental health, and as you know, the Assemblyman got a bill that he was working on about mental health. Yes. And so that today also made me think about having you to come on too. So we got a male and a female perspective. Now, you're a coach. Talk to me a little bit about being a coach and what you specialize in as a coach.
Absolutely. And of course, shout out to one of my favorite assembly persons, Assemblyman Jackson, because he did it. I actually had the opportunity to speak on that bill from my therapeutic perspective. I am a licensed master social worker. I did, like he said, thousands of hours. I still am practicing. I coach. And I really think that as a human in the human experience, we have to focus on our mind, body, spirit, and that ultimately, of course, advances our finances. So I believe all of that is encompassing of one. And it's just a mirror of our socioeconomic circumstances, right? So as a coach, I think that it's always important for me to one, be authentic and true to who I am, because I have some very colorful lived experiences myself. So I know what it's like to be a part of the criminal justice or injustice system, you know, by way of maybe poor choices or things that just happen to me. And then also being a mother and a woman who has been in a long time relationship, a friend, a businesswoman, you know, all of those different things take a toll on our mental health. And I believe that it's important that we practice wellness around it, because we do experience things that will put us in positions to not live the healthiest lives. We get caught up in situations that put us in, you know, not the best situations. So for me, I've always been a people person, and some of the best things that I've ever done was just being a professional listener. Sometimes people just need somebody to listen to. Even now, I feel like I'm doing more talking than I ever do, because I'm not generally the person who's always talking.
You're doing fine. You're doing well. And in fact, something else I wanted to ask you about, the Assemblyman mentioned about the AI experience, about how we're trying to get it from being so, you know, prevalent in our, what you do in coaching and, you know, mental health and going in and answers. What do you think about that, Bill? What do you think about that AI?
I think that it was important. As much as I do believe that AI is a great tool.
Absolutely.
And it's to utilize, you know, even for people who want to have an experience where it's actually talking back to it as if it's a friend. I can understand from that perspective, because not everybody has people that they can talk to or genuinely have conversations with. However, it does not have feelings. It does not make certain decisions based on what we believe to be moral or right. It does not necessarily have an ethics code that it follows. It has been fed information from, you know, billions of people at this point, and not even just the whole person who has the conversation with it. You know, even as a media person and journalist perspective and a writer, that tool is helpful for me, because things that usually take me 2 hours to write, I could get it done in 5 minutes, you know, just by putting the ideas that I have in it. But for it to build and cultivate relationships, I believe it gives people an alternative reality that does not exist, and it will put people really in harm's way. So I'm grateful that that bill is where it is right now. I'm hoping it does get signed. You know, the governor needs to give us some more wins, because I haven't seen as many as I would like, but that one definitely needs to be one.
Absolutely. So, Assemblyman, she mentioned that she could what would normally take so much time to write, she could do it in less time. So when you have something that, you know, is taking you some time, we know that we have Ms. Dotson here who can put it together in a little no time. So maybe we might be making something happen right here between the Assemblyman and the beautiful woman from Nevada. Well, we say Nevada, right? Because that's where you are.
It's fine.
We understand.
I live here.
Right. And I do understand. So, Assemblyman, as you were talking about, and I still wanted to go back to that real estate aspect that you spoke about with the tiny home. And again, is that something we can present, maybe redefine it when we go back? Is there something that we can do to bring that back? Because as you mentioned, and you and I spoke one day on a street, we just happened to cross paths, and you mentioned about the idea. And as a real estate broker, I thought it would be a wonderful idea, because sometimes that space in those long backyards on the west side, there's a ton of space, and what are they doing? It's just dirt sitting there. And how can we capitalize? That may be an income for a senior who can use it as a rental space, right? Or we could say to a family member who may be able to have their own little private space. Can we bring that back again, maybe again, redefine, make some tweaks about it so when we go back? Can we do that? Is that possible?
Yes, sir. So currently you can't put an ADU in your backyard. You know, you go through the city council process. So right now, if people want to get ADUs, they can put them in their yard. And like you said, it helps, you know, your family members, your auntie, your uncle, mom, dad,
your grandmother,
kids, your grandmother.
Because she wants her independence. She don't want to live in a house with you. but she'd have her own sense of independence because it's her space, right?
Right. And then you got young kids right now are making $50,000-$60,000 a year, and they can't even afford to get an apartment. So so you could definitely get an ADU right now. I'm going to bring the bill back, and I think the biggest factor of why it didn't get through, besides timing, is the tax exemption of the ADUs on Section 8. No one really knew how that would fiscally impact the state. Because we make a lot of revenue off of property taxes, and so if we're tax exempting these ADUs, we don't know the fiscal impact. So there's different ways to get past that, and I definitely want to speak to the people who supported me, but maybe in this next legislation we put a cap, only 50 ADUs, the first 50 ADUs, just so it could be more of a study, see how it could impact, and so we know the fiscal impact. We're only gonna start with 50 or 100. So there is creative ways to bring back legislation, and just because it failed once, it doesn't mean it's just over. So that's my ideas around it.
Okay, and this is the tiny home, the boxables. We're still waiting on the boxable homes, right, to get the approval. They haven't got the approval. You can purchase them. They're just not approved in Nevada as of yet. And that's kind of the same idea when you talk about the tiny home, right? Now, what are we looking at when it comes to plumbing? So we're having to run plumbing over to it. And so that expense that it costs, that's something that will be incurred on the seller or the owner of the property. Correct? Right.
It just depends who you get it from. I know you mentioned Boxable. That they are one manufacturer of tiny homes. They actually have a in-house financing that you could use, for those things. Because you could get the tiny home, and it may cost $30,000, $40,000, but you still have to connect. That may cost $5,000, $10,000. The way that the tiny homes are set up, they're very accessible to have those hook on for power, plumbing. So it's an easy connect, but it still costs money. It's still going to cost you some money to do, but it's still a lot more affordable than buying a home, and even renting right now. Renting, you need the first and the last and the current. So you need about $6,000 in your bank account just
don't get me started. You don't get me started on that, because I am opposed to rentals. I had a gentleman, I sold his home because his wife was pregnant. They needed more space. They had a 2-bedroom. She was pregnant, and they needed more space. He's a veteran. And we were selling a home. He says, I'm going to rent because I'm getting deployed next year. He was going to another location, right? He's active military. We were in the process of selling his home. We're a week out. So he's looking for a rental. His rental was going to cost, he needed to have 3 times a deposit, another security deposit, and first month's rent. Right, so it was going to cost him so much to use his VA. Cost him nothing. He said, Mr. Deville, you were right. It cost me nothing to use my VA. Once you sell a VA home, you can purchase another VA home tomorrow. Right, there's no waiting period. You can immediately go into another purchase. Once you get that loan paid in full, your DTI is available again. So he said, you know what? I might as well just purchase another house and save the nearly $7,000 to rent a house for 1 year where he could use his VA free. So when you mention that as a real estate broker, if you're a veteran, you're listening to our show, keep in mind, the end of the day, you're a veteran, no money out of pocket. And there's free buyer representation. So I represent buyers absolutely no charge, right? The seller pays the commission. So thank you for bringing that up, because, again, what it may cost to put that boxable back there or that tiny home could be minimal. Now we need to figure out, to a person with a fixed income, how do we get that? Maybe they can't afford to get that process loan. Like you said, it may cost $5,000 to get that plumbing back there, right? We need to figure out how that can be maneuvered, right? What does that look like? We need to see financing, how we can, because it's not enough to get approved for it, but I can't get it because I can't get the power back there. So we'll talk more about that. That would be because, again, there are a lot of homes in your district. They have huge yards.
Yes.
And I think it would be phenomenal for people to be able to put those back there, and sometimes it could be used for a rental property.
I agree.
Because
I agree 100%. And that the idea did come from, door knocking in my community, and I seen that mama, grandma, great grandma, children all living in the same home.
Right.
You got generations of family living in the same home, and yes, they have a big front yard, they have a big backyard. Right. And then and it was also building equity in these communities that haven't seen the same equity as Green Valley, Silverado Ranch, Summerlin. We have seen the rest of the valley flourish in equity. So I really felt like if we are able to put, these tiny homes, these ADUs on these historic properties, these properties that have been impacted by redlining and all of the above, that it'll at least even the playing field, build equity for these family members, and give back to the communities that need it the most.
Absolutely. Ashley, if I had to ask you, what is one fight that you really are passionate about right now, that you could share with the listeners, that you are really supportive? What's on your heart?
Well, I would definitely say most likely the crime bill, the governor's crime bill, is top of my list. Although it didn't make it out due to a filibuster, there was still enough votes for it to get passed. That right there is very concerning for me, because the fact that mass incarceration is a thing. They literally want Black, brown, and low income people off the streets. And that's very problematic when we are, supposed to have this constitution that provides us with freedoms, equal access to these things, right? Yet they try to find every way to prevent us from reaching those things. The American dream is not so much of a dream, nor is it American in the sense of what has been defined. So for me, I'm concerned because if there's a special session, the bill will come back introduced with other language, with a different number, and then people got to do their homework again, right? But that to me means that we need to be talking to our legislators. We need to be talking to these people who did decide to put a stamp on that, because it makes me question, who are they fighting for? These are the same constituents that live within your jurisdictions, yet there's some people who are going to have choice decisions that are made, or they just live in life, and certain things will be, I would say, put harsher penalties on, for certain things that they've already been. There's so many words that I'm trying not to curse while I'm saying a lot of these things.
That's that passion want to come out. See, I want to tell you, like, I feel it.
I'm trying to be gentle, as you said, to say the least. There's some people who need to be questioned, and then there was a voter ID bill. I know some people argue you got to be ID'd everywhere you go, but then it's also just another barrier to access. And then, of course, housing. We just need to make things make sense. I am very concerned even for our brown brothers and sisters, and even our Black brothers and sisters, with this ICE situation. I think it's crazy. People don't have the right to do peaceful protesting any longer. You don't have the right to your First Amendment. You can't say what's on your mind without, someone trying to cut you off and silence you, and then using force to do so. So we're in some very interesting times.
I agree. I agree.
Grandmother would say.
I agree. But here's the problem I have with our protests, right? Peaceful. The operative word is peaceful. What happens with the clowns who get out of hand? Because Los Angeles started out peaceful. The pastors, the leaders were there. In fact, one person got arrested. He was part of a union and got arrested just for peaceful. But you get these idiots who go outside and break windows and who do things. Now you got the police getting in an uproar. They're throwing rocks. It's supposed to be peaceful. We're standing our ground for a point. We're trying to make a point. We went beyond it now. I wake up on yesterday and I found out LA is everything but on fire. They've torn up, they're graffitiing the buildings. Come on, you guys. It's not peaceful protests, right? So how do we, and that's a question I have. How do we all come together? Who's the voice say, let's keep it together? Let's not get out of hand.
And I know Javon want to answer that today.
Yeah.
So for me, and our brothers and sisters, whether they make some poor choices,
Okay, say it nicely then. Help me
I would
out.
have to say a lot of this stuff is being incited, right? Because if it's peaceful and then we bring these alternative folks into the protests, now we're inciting things. We're making it to where people feel like they have to be on the defense, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we do have some people who like to protest in alternative ways, and I believe that some of those things are revolutionary. Sometimes we do have to be disruptive. Do we want to vandalize other people's property and things of that nature? Not necessarily, but it does bring additional attention. Does it bring violence? Yes, it does. So it's always catch-22. Again, remember, I moved here after the riots in LA. That definitely was incited, but it was because of the fact that there was a judgment made where 4 police officers were let off after brutally beating a Black man. I'm not with that. So if it means that I gotta bust some windows and some other things for people to understand how I feel, I understand. And yes, I said that on record. Y'all gotta remember, I just look like this.
Now but here in
I'm
lies
not going to vandalize nobody's stuff, but sometimes disruption has to happen.
But herein lies the problem when we talk the vandalism. So people lose their business. Times have been tough, and for you to break out windows and to steal the product, and we're already having it tough to get the sales, and then now you've given me more costs. Some of these people never make it back to their business. I would like to see where, and Assemblyman, I want you to elaborate on this as well, but I'd like to see real peaceful. Let's stand our ground, because now what you've done is you made it. Now we got a curfew. From 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., you can't walk nowhere. You can how nice the weather is, you can't take a walk, right? The whole city's on a curfew. And then if you're seen, not to mention peaceful, why am I in jail? It was just peaceful. Now you're in jail. Now you've incurred more costs because now you got a bail, right? And to those who are, whatever else comes about, you caught a case. Come on, peaceful. Come on, let the Assemblyman. Where you at on that, Assemblyman? Tell me here, because Ashley, and that's why I brought her on today. I love the fire. I love the passion. Wonderful. Now, the Assemblyman, where you? I told you, the gentlewoman from Nevada. Yeah, she's a fighter, and we love it. She's a Jasmine Crockett.
I will start with the Dr. King's quote: "A riot is the language of the unheard," and I won't say it's not right to bust out windows. It's not right to damage properties. But when you literally see children and people being kidnapped off the street and you have no power to do anything about it, what can you do? You want to stomp your feet. You want to clap your hands. You want to, because at that point you feel powerless. And the only power you may get is from, unfortunately, breaking a window, throwing a rock at a car. And it's unfortunate that that's the only way that you could express yourself and be heard through our government, because sometimes if you don't do that, it's just business as usual. They're still going to kidnap kids off the street. They're still going to take people off the streets. And so I would just say that's just the expression of the unheard. And one thing, I'm born and raised in Vegas, but LA, I have realized, is my neighbor city, and I have a lot more in common with LA than Reno, than Carson City. And the one thing I do know about LA, if they wasn't peaceful, we would know by now. And trust me, it could have easily went, if these wasn't peaceful protesters, on day one, someone would have been shot. Someone would have been hurt. Someone would have been killed. And my biggest fear right now is that people coming into these peaceful protesters that are not even a part of the protesters, and something happening, someone getting shot, and it has nothing to do with the actual protesters, but guess who's going to be blamed for those things? So I would say that, people need to be heard, and sometimes that is the only tool. And it's unfortunate that we have to rely on these tools, and it's not fair to the business owners and everyone else, but
can I just add that I think it creates more havoc, right? I think it creates more havoc, because now you throwing rocks at the police. Now you're getting arrested for violence on an officer. Now you just caught a case. What did we get from what we've done? What have we gained? So what we're fighting for, we now add more to the fight. We're adding more too. Now I'm getting charged. Look at the lady who threw something at the officer. They ran and chased her down and snatched her up. And another thing, I think they need to take out lethal force out of the guns. Put bullets. If you got to shoot, put those rubber bullets in there.
Well, that's
I don't think it protests.
They just shot the young lady, the press. The press can't even show up. No, they are escorting press because they do not want this stuff to be televised, right? The revolution is now being televised. That's what's happening. And they used to say that it was not going to be televised. No, it has to be seen. People need to know what's going on, and they have to stay informed. Everybody does not show up on the front line, right? You have your people who are part of the front lines, people who are going to be heard, be seen, cause the damage, if you will, and make sure that the folks behind them are able to ride and be protected. Now, again, I'm not encouraging for people to have to vandalize most of the time. And if these types of things are happening, it's happening in places and corporate entities where they don't even feel the burden, right? I don't want this happening on our small businesses, moms and pops, like you said, who can't bounce back from that. Of course, I'm not telling you go do that on Jackson Street or, you know what I'm saying, or something like that. These things, again, for us, Black and brown, indigenous, low-income folks are how we bring attention to our needs. Most of us are not showing up at the legislature. That last bill that I testified on, there was one little white lady in there in the room, and the person who communicated, hey, there's a young lady here who wants to testify and oppose on this bill. There's hundreds of seats in that room. Right, I saw that. It's because it's not accessible. They moved the building from Grant Sawyer way over there on Warm Springs. Most of our people live over here on this side of town. They're not going over there. There's not a bus access line. There's not a bus shuttle system that says, hey, you guys, we got bills that are coming up that you could come speak on. Why don't you ride this bus to go do that with me? That's not happening. We got to make it make sense. So, and they are taking advantage of those type of situations to push a bill, right? You know, the smoke screen that Trump puts up when he's creeping other things, signing other bills, but he smoke screened you over here. Hey, look at California, but he's getting bills signed while we're looking at California. And the fact you send the military are moving, he's lying. Period.
I saw that post. You did.
Moving, he is lying. I don't even know have that. The only thing that I can say, besides the smoke in the screen, like we have to really believe him when he says the crazy stuff. That's when we need to believe him. You know what I'm saying? I think that's where we became naive. And I don't even know I think the country loves chaos and confusion. We operate in a state where we are always on the defense. And if people would learn how to control their central nervous system and really begin to know what it's like to live a peaceful life, they wouldn't watch the news anymore. They would do things like go outside and take a walk and go plant their feet in grass and try to figure out what it is to make them not feel so bogged down by what is going on day to day. Yes, these are parts of, our daily living situations, but to allow it to control us and how we move and how we live our lives it's unnecessary.
And just to end something, that she kind of said it. That breaking a window may be the only power that our community has.
I think standing unified for something.
Standing unified, but in those legislative spaces, it's where when a bill that impacts Black and brown people, no one had a second thought about voting on it. But when it's a bill that impacts a certain community, everyone is in pandemonium, like, oh, we're going to be held accountable. But when it's a bill that impacts Black and brown people, it's like, who cares? And so it's that type of thinking. And so I understand though that frustration, but I know it's not right, but I understand it.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear about how that budgets are being cut. Right. We do give grants for first time buyers, those who have not owned a home. I don't say never, because you could have owned a home, but if you have not in the last 3 years. Right. And so we see so many budget cuts that we have had money that's allocated for grant funding, and now we're talking about cutting budgets. So now we're cutting off for communities for people to own their own, right? Because even for me, I own solar. And I tell people, you get a home, put solar on your home, because even NV Energy, they continually increase. You know why though? Because they can. The fattening the pockets of the executives. Warren Buffett even said it himself, and he owns it. But he made a mention. He said, I should pay more in taxes than I do. He said it's a mess how we can just increase and it just passes. I want to see something done where monies that are allocated to help families aren't the first thing snatched up. Really, I think I'm gonna contact our AG and let him come on as well. Let's talk about some changes that he's even working on, right? That will impact the impact, because I know some of the things I've heard him speak on is like you and Assemblyman Ashley are so much a voice in the community, looking out for the underserved, right? And I too want to help people stop getting their rent increase. I know a lady paying for a 3-bedroom apartment, 900 square feet, like $2,100. This is an apartment. I pay a mortgage on a six-bedroom house. My mortgage is $2,300. They pay $2,100 for a 3-bedroom apartment, 900 square feet. Something's got to be done.
It has become ridiculous. I remember that this a lot of people moved here because this was a place where you could retire and it was more affordable. Right?
Exactly.
Our cost of living is almost mirroring LA, and of course I keep utilizing that because that's where I came from. That was just how it was. And to see, even as you mentioned with solar, I have solar on my home. I was able to purchase in 2019. The solar on my home was paid off when I got here. I am paying the same bill though, practically, with NV Energy, just because of the way that the rate hikes go. I have had my meter checked. I have had the solar people check it. Everything works, and it's just, to me, and that's probably another conversation you and I need to have. Again, because they can. Because what is the point? I'm supposed to be saving money and saving energy.
So let me just speak to that before my engineer gives me the sign that we're out. So so the person that you may have purchased a home from may not use as much power as you do. So when they installed it on their house, for me, I needed 36 panels in my home. So I got 39 because I was expecting to possibly install a pool, and maybe I thought before Muskrat got in there about a Tesla, but it's totally out of the picture, right? But maybe something else. But nonetheless, I got more for capacity purpose. So you purchased a home where there may be 3 people, and now you got 7 people or 6 people living there. So you need to install more panels to accommodate your living. So we'll talk more about that. But when I'm hearing people saying I'm paying for solar panels and I'm paying for NV power, it's because we're not producing enough energy. So we'll talk more about that. And anyone listening today, and you're having that issue with you got solar, but you're also paying an NV Energy bill. Let's talk about contacting solar, installing more panels to accommodate. All right, that's going to be one of the things we want to look into doing. That's why I talk solar on renewable energy, powerful stuff. I pay one bill, one flat, $269 a month for the last 2 years. I have not paid a power bill. I give $13 to NV Energy, and that's for that cord to come from the post to the house. And so I want to tell everybody, and I'm passionate about renewable energy, and I'm passionate about mortgages, because if you could pay rent, and then guess what? Next year, when the lease is over, they go up again. I paid my mortgage this morning, $2,340. And I've got a 3,000 square foot home. $2,300. Why are you paying rent on a 900 square foot apartment? So we got to put a rent, and an assemblyman, maybe that'd be something we can talk about too, is getting a rent cap, right? We got to somehow do something about this because it's going crazy. But anyway, I got my engineer. She just gave me not the finger, but we got to go. I want to thank both I want to thank both of you for your time. It was fun. I'm so excited to have had you all to come on today. Thank you so much, and we'll do it again. I want to talk to you all outside this week. Let's talk. Jackson, happy Father's Day to you, man.
Thank you.
Enjoy it. Do your best. Ashley, we appreciate you. You all have a wonderful weekend. Be safe. Talk to you soon, okay? Thank you guys so much. Lady, thank you, gentlewoman from Nevada. Thank you again. Have a good day. So Las Vegas, listen, I appreciate this time here at hot702.5fm.com that we were able to talk and discuss some of the things that we've seen pass and some that didn't pass, and to hear opinions of people who are passionate about the community. So again, I'm Greg Deville, the broker owner of Deville Realty Group, Deville Solar Marketing Group. Until I talk to you next time, I'm here every Wednesday at 12 noon, Hot 702.5 FM. And until I talk to you next week, fathers, have a wonderful Father's Day. Enjoy with your families. And until then, we talk next time. May God's best be yours.
Yeah. Jones. Hey. Greg Deville was at it, man. Hey. If you want the real, holla at Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. If you want the real, listen to Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. I'm talking real estate, building wealth, making money for your family and yourself. Now tune in. We here to help. Now tune in. We here to help. You wanna be a broker, you wanna be broke. You wanna be the joker, you wanna be the joker. You gotta bring more to the table than your hope, dreams and wishing. I can feed you fish or I can take you out fishing. I can show you the vision, addition and division, mathematic equation. Make the money flip like an acrobatic, amazing. Greg Deville help you build the foundation. I'm saying, if you want the real, holla at Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. If you want the real, listen to Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. I'm talking real estate, building wealth, making money for your family and yourself. Now tune in. We here to help. Now tune in. We here to help.